All right, we got David Gurr sitting in for Tom Keene. I'm Paul Sweeney. We're live here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio, streaming live on YouTube. So head over to youtube.com, search Bloomberg Podcast Live. Brian Egger joins us, Bloomberg Intelligence. He follows all the casino, hotels, the theme, the cruise ships, all the fun stuff out there. But he's really been one of the top casino analysts on Wall Street for 30-plus years, all over the bulge bracket firms. He's now with Bloomberg Intelligence. Hey, Brian, talk to us about... I'm not really into the betting thing. Other than when I go to Vegas, I go to Bellagio, I go to my craps table, I play the 6 and the 8 and the point full odds. That's my game.
When in Rome.
Yeah, and then I got the Sweeney Suite at the Bellagio, the high roller suite. But this whole FanDuel DraftKings thing's exploding. Talk to us about those businesses and what an event like the Super Bowl means to those businesses.
Yeah, so we have 32 states with mobile betting now. Not as much growth in the last years and previous years, but still a lot of mobile betting. And the vast majority of wagering will take place not only in those books, but others mobily as opposed to in brick and mortar sports books.
Paul and I were talking earlier in the show just about where this game is taking place, where it took place last year. These are both cities, New Orleans and Las Vegas, where there is a lot of casino gambling. How does that color or affect the way that people bet on these games?
So on the one hand, you have a tightly contested game, as Paul mentioned, 1.5 spread favoring the Chiefs.
Wow.
On the other hand, it is kind of a tough comparison. I'll play a little bit devil's advocate here because you only have 2 betting states in the last year. You do have New Orleans, but of course we have those worrisome security threats after the terrorist attack on New Year's Eve. And remember, last year's game was in Nevada. We all remember that well. So for Nevada books, you had a lot of traffic in town. This year in New Orleans, perhaps not quite the same thing. A lot of growth last year, so certainly it's going to be a tightly contested game, a lot of excitement. The point spread shows that, but not the easiest comparison versus last year.
I'm just looking at the FA function for DraftKings. And their revenue in 2020 was $600 million. Forecasted for 2024, almost $5 billion.
Wow.
$6.4 billion next year. This mobile betting thing, it's a thing, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's unbelievable.
They've got more than 40 states with sports betting, but 32 with mobile sports betting. So think about where we were in going back to 2018 when the Supreme Court allowed unrestricted sports betting outside Nevada. So we've come a long way in those 6 years.
Okay, here's something just...
No, of course.
In my local luncheonette last Saturday, the local high school basketball team, there's probably 10 kids around the table all eating their huge breakfasts. What were they talking about? Betting.
Were they?
Point spreads.
Yep.
And they're putting on football, that really concerned me.
Well, it gets to the question I was going to ask you, which is you see this kind of transformation of the way that we watch and participate in spectating sports. And, you watch a game, tons of ads for DraftKings and other sites, and your kids pick up on it in that way. But talk a bit about that, just the way that it's kind of changed sports generally, having the availability of gambling in this way.
It really has. On the one hand, if you have money on a game, a little money, it adds to the excitement. But I echo your concerns about the fact that you have advertising potentially targeting college-age students or younger people. There is much talk in the industry about the need for those safeguards.
Just broadly, real quickly, 30,000 foot, how are my good friends on the Strip in Vegas doing? One of my happy places in the world. How's Vegas doing?
Vegas is doing well. The fourth quarter, for a couple reasons, was down a little bit from last year, but I think that's largely because a less favorable timing of Christmas and New Year's, that timing in the middle of the week. And some unlucky play at the Baccarat table.
There you go.
Maybe because you were there or you weren't there. Yes. I don't know if it had the Paul Sweeney factor. But those are definitely factors. But that being said, you go back pre-pandemic, we're well above that benchmark.
I love when I first started investing in, it was one of the sectors that I was assigned was the gaming. You could put in your 10Q. We missed the quarter because of bad luck.
Is that right?
Yeah. I'm like, what? But that's certainly...
If your business is slot machines, it's probably not valid. But if your business is high-end baccarat, it could be a factor. So.
Right. See, a big whale. It was back in the day when these companies were smaller. And if a big whale came in the last weekend of the quarter and took you out, you missed your numbers, and you could say, hey, this big Japanese tycoon came in. Brian Egger, that's his business. Senior analyst, gaming and lodging. Somehow he's made a career out of that, being one of the best analysts on the street covering that space.